What's good, everybody? It's your boy DKB here. We got our mock draft that we're going to kick off here momentarily. And this will be the first one I'm doing that has trades in it. So I don't know how long this will necessarily go for or how quickly I guess we can get through the draft, right? I do want to talk through some of the items that'll be out there, right? And considering that we are going to be including trades in a mock draft for the first time, we'll see, right? I don't know what it'll look like in terms of trying to trade down, who you want to target in trade up situations. But at some point in the first 3 rounds, we are definitely going to be making a move. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think it's kind of a sure thing that there's going to be some kind of movement based on what we've seen from Darren Muji draft classes and kind of that Aaron Glenn draft history, right? So we'll see here. Housekeeping items and whatnot for this, right? We're going to do, I kind of want to do this with a couple different simulators, but I don't have time for that today. So maybe I'll try to add in a couple extra streams throughout the next week, which is crazy to think because the draft kicks off Thursday. I feel like it came out of nowhere with as much time as I've been trying to spend dropping stuff. So we're going to use PFN today, Pro Football Network simulator, just because I get all 7 rounds. I love to use like PFF and stuff as well, but PFN has the 7 rounds. In addition to that, they are going to offer some of the trade proposals and stuff, so I don't have to think as much about what it looks like to craft up a trade idea and stuff like that. So I will also quickly, if anybody wants to jump on at any point when we are talking through these options, be my guest. All right, links in the comments. Let's go ahead and start kicking things off here. Here we go. All right, Jets, I'm just going to push it for 7 right now. And if we end up being able to get through all of it, great. If not, I'm hoping to get through at least the first 4 rounds or so, because I think it gets more entertaining the further you get into the day 3 guys, and potentially some names out there and stuff that we don't know. Jets, 7 rounds, normal speed. I want to technically put this as slow just so that I have time to actually pause if there's some picks, but we'll keep it normal for now and see what we have going here. So Cam Ward, Carter, Travis, Campbell, Warren, Ted. Okay, this is one of this is one of the more intriguing starts to a draft class that I've seen in a minute, right? And there's a reason for that. So Ward, I think that's a foregone conclusion. He's going to the Titans. Carter, you expect to be a top pick. Hunter, you expect to be a top pick. The Patriots in most of the drafts that I've gone through have either been Armand Nimbu or it's been Will Campbell, or in the rare event that like Hunter falls to them, they pick up him as a weapon for Drake May. Tyler Warren has never come off the board before I picked. So I wasn't expecting to see him not available. Not saying that was, option 1 for me or anything. And it's rare that I see Tech come off the board. So with what we're looking at, we have Mason Graham. And I'm just going to put the conversation of the top items we have out here, right? Mason Graham, Ashton Genty, obviously Armand Mimbu. We don't have a need at corner. And then when you look at wide receiver, Matthew Golden is going to be the go-to name here since we don't have Tyler Warren available. I've kind of gone back and forth over this for a minute, right? So let's have the Mason Graham conversation. A lot of people that think we can move off Mason Graham, I think it's because they envision him as kind of having another version of a Quinnen Williams, right? From like a skill set perspective. Most of us are focused in on having that that double team requiring nose tackle, the guy that can clog up the lanes, get after the running backs, or at least force them to have to hit other gaps where they should meet Quinnen, or they should meet Jermaine Johnson or Quincy or Sherwood, something like that. I don't see what the problem is with having two Quinnen Williams in the middle of your defense. For any of the elite teams out there from a defensive perspective where you've seen them causing havoc for offenses, because they've had two quality, and I'll just say defensive tackles, right? Some guys have a combination of a DT and a nose tackle. Some people just have that one gap penetration scheme, different things like that. I don't see the problem with getting him. If we have another version of a Quinnen Williams in the middle of the defense, I think you're winning, right? And for teams that don't even have one, for us to have two, it would just be a gluttony of resources for us. Now, I don't love the idea of necessarily having to double dip in the drafted defensive tackle. So if we are saying that we would benefit more by having a two-gapper, then Mason Graham shouldn't be the pick here, right? You can go Tyleek later on. You can potentially get Kenneth Grant. You can look at a number of the other guys. And even if you want someone that operates more as a pass rusher, someone that has more of a run-stopping skill set but isn't quite a two-gapper in and of itself, there's options deep into rounds 3 that you can look at. So not to say that those guys are the same caliber of Mason Graham, of course, but I think you can go if we're not getting two, I can't even say you're getting quantity over quality, but you take advantage of where the most value is in this draft, right? And it's going to be on the defensive line in this case. So I'm going to pause on Mason Graham. I'm definitely not taking Ashton Jeanty here, right? Where I'm not even considering that conversation for us when it comes to trading Breece Hall and everything. Don't create holes just to have to plug them in right away when you could benefit, elsewhere. Not entertaining the quarterback conversation for us whatsoever. And then that leaves us with Armand Minbu or a pick of Matthew Golden. I'm not entertaining an edge conversation here either. So Armand Minbu or Matthew Golden, what is going to give us the most bang for our buck? I want to see what some of the trade offers were as well. So the Giants are willing to give us a second and a third, as well as a first and second next year. And we're giving up, I think that's our second of the 6th round picks for our top selection. I don't want to leave out of the first round completely. We could package these up and probably move back up. But I think the value at the very least of an Armand Minbu here is too great to fall that far off, even though I'm still high on some of the other potential tackle options. So I don't know. I don't think I'm heavily considering that one. And then the Cowboys are willing to give us 12, 44. So first, second, and 149, I feel like is a fifth. No, it should be about a mid 4th rounder. That might be intriguing. I don't know if I want to risk Armand Minbu. I think he definitely goes off before 12. But then you still have Kelvin Banks as an option. You still have Matthew Golden as a potential option if you decide you want to go weapons based on what's on the board. That one actually stands out to me, and I think they're probably jumping up to scoop up. I would say it's probably Jeanty or is Golden, right? I don't know if there's anybody else on the board that necessarily makes sense for them to jump up and want to grab. DKB, do you think there's a possibility of the Jets drafting Siobhan Ravel in the 2nd round if he drops, or a cornerback in the later rounds move Steffens to safety? So based on what Aaron Glenn has been commenting, I think it's highly unlikely that Stevens gets moved anywhere. I think he's going to be a cornerback. I think Aaron Glenn likes the size, speed, length advantages of having Sauce Gardner out there with Stevens. I do think cornerback is still going to be a pick. at some point in this draft, because there are a lot of day 3 guys that are, size, speed prospects. And some of them offer some skill sets where they are strong in at least one area, whether it's press techniques, whether it's man coverage, whether it's zone, and then you think you can coach that up. But right now you're looking at a roster that's 3 deep. I know a lot of people don't love Stevens, but for what it is, he is cornerback 2 right now. So you're locked in. Let's just say 4 deep, right? Because you have Stevens, you have Sauce, you have MC2, and I think this staff will really fall in love with Stiggers once they see what he can do on the field. You don't draft a guy on the first 2 days that at best is walking in as a cornerback 5. So I can't see Shavon Ravel coming to us in the second, even though I really like the guy. I actually just checked out one of the articles people dropped on the background for him. And then I got the chance to check the tape for when he was healthy, and he is a fine option for us. But it just doesn't make sense for us to prioritize cornerback anymore after what we did in free agency. Guys, so I think I am actually seriously considering taking this Cowboys offer. Whoops. We drop back 5 picks. We are potentially missing Armand Mimbu. But we get an extra second and an extra 5th all in this class. And I think you still get a reasonably good value here. I think I might pull this off. So our first trade, I really didn't think this was going to happen until like the second or third round. I think this is too good. I don't think Armand Mimbu is so much better than a Kelvin Banks, for example, that he has to be the pick. To be honest, I think a lot of people, I hate saying this or doing this to people because it's not like I'm a 10-year veteran as a scout or anything, but I always have a reasonable level of concern for anybody that's a 1-year breakout, especially on the offensive line. Armand Mimbu has started for 3 years. It's not like he's been terrible in the years prior. 2023, I believe he only gave up 2 sacks. He brings the size, the speed, the athleticism that you love. And then obviously, I believe he didn't give up any sacks in 2024. You love all of that, but Kelvin Banks is, I would argue he's in the same tier as someone like Mimbu here. So I think it's worth the risk. Also, I don't mind the option of still potentially having like an Armand Mimbu, maybe some other guys come into the discussion there as well. Yeah, we're taking that trade. Okay, yeah, we're let's go ahead and punch it in. We are going to take the Cowboys offer. We're going to drop to 12, pick up a second and a 4th rounder. We still could have potentially had him. That's all right. So they wanted Mason Graham. Okay. I didn't think they would trade up to go defense, but that's fine. Shamar Stewart comes off. Ashton Genty. I feel like that's a weird pick for the Saints. They need a quarterback with the Derek Carr drama. They can still look to add pieces on the offensive line. That's fine. Mimbu for Bears makes a ton of sense. Johnson helping out the 49ers in that back end makes sense. Okay, so resetting our conversation. Now we are talking about Kelvin Banks Jr. being the top option for us. Is going to bring the size. He's going to bring the athleticism. I think you love the fact that he has more of the versatility in terms of how he's been utilized in college than what Armand Mimbu offered. And off the top of my head, he's been a little bit more consistent as a prospect over the time of him starting throughout the NFL. Throughout college. So Kelvin Banks Jr., serious option here. Then we have Matthew Golden, Colston Loveland, I think, as the conversation starters around this. I don't think I would necessarily go anywhere else at this time, seriously considering them. And I don't know, it's probably highly unreasonable that in the real real life NFL draft that we would see us be able to trade more than once out of the first round or down in the first round. They want to offer up a first and a second. What do the Seahawks need right now based on who's on the board? At quarterback, I think they have Drew Lock right now and probably some other unknown. So maybe it's Sanders. Jalen Walker, Kelvin Banks. They need a new wide receiver one after moving on from DK. Actually, they can go in a couple different directions. So I don't know where they would go. Cleveland wants us to drop completely out of the first. That's a no-go. And then the Rams are offering a much later first-round pick. Pick 90 is a third rounder, and then we get some future picks from them. So if we were going to go with one, it would be the Seahawks, obviously. I don't think it's a realistic situation that would happen. And I don't know. Let's see, pick 18. So I don't think Shador would come off by then. Who else needs a quarterback? You can argue the Colts potentially if they want to try to have competition. I don't think the Dolphins are looking for anybody. So yeah, I don't know. Okay, so what do we want to do here? I think there are still a reasonable. So I still really like Ariante Ursure. I like Josh Simmons as later picks. Ozzie Trapillo is one that can still come in and compete and probably still win from Chukwuma. Cameron Williams is a decent option. Charles Grant is a underrated favorite. I think if we skip tackle, the question is, how comfortable would I be or we would be with the floor of someone else? Josh Simmons would be a very intriguing pick if we can find a way to still scoop him up at 18. He's a secret favorite of mine, unless people have been keeping up with some of the videos where I've chatted about him. But there's health concerns. I don't know if he'll be healthy for a full year for us. Ariante Ursary, I think, makes the most sense for why we would have wanted to take Mimbu. He just isn't as strong. And then, of course, Josh Connerly still needs to be in the equation here. What's the fall off from Golden to Igbuka? James, what's the good word, boss? Appreciate you coming through. What can we get away with here? I still like a pretty decent amount of day 2, day 3 guys. Matthew Golden is essentially like kind of having another Garrett Wilson for us. Okay, I think I know what I want to do, and this is potentially higher than what I would say. Like we're probably still looking at the ceiling here for this guy. I'm thinking we go Colston Loveland. So if you want to talk about having another weapon, you bring in Loveland. He can still mimic a lot of the things that you will want out of a, let's call it like classic tight end, right? You get the inline ability. He's going to be a better pure receiving threat than Tyler Warren. He's going to be able to attack things like the seams, run a couple post routes, different things like that for you. You can move him around the formation if you want. And if you're concerned about the blocking ability, which you can argue Warren isn't so much greater of a blocker over Loveland, that you can't pull off the same kind of things. Colston Loveland can help chip block. You also bring in a tackle in round 2 that you feel really good about pairing those two guys together. I think this might be the play here. Slide in Green and Loveland. Yeah, yeah, Sanders isn't the discussion for me at all. I think Loveland should be the pick here, right? Because for me personally, Jackson Halls is a tight end that I'm locked into later in the draft. This is a position that I do want to double dip in. Loveland is going to be the receiving guy that offers some ability as a blocker. Halls is going to be the blocking threat that can improve as a receiver. So you have that kind of a synergetic relationship there. If you don't feel great about what Loveland can do in line, you're going to be able to support him with a premium tackle that you're bringing in. And at the very least, if Chukwuma does win a competition early, you have a veteran that can kind of show him the ropes before he gets handed off. But either way, he has options, first and second string units where you feel really good about being able to help him develop. Also, I will continue to raise this. Don't forget about the Steve Hayden, Jeff Blasco factor as guys that have proven they can develop some strong tight end play. I think we're going to go Loveland here. Yeah. Yep. Loveland is going to be the guy. Now, again, this is a minor reach. This is a guy that I think this is the top of where you're going to see a lot of people say that we should draft, or you start to even see him drafted at. For example, I've started just running through mock simulators a lot in the last week, and like the Cardinals, I believe it is, at 16 is like kind of the barrier to entry here. So nonetheless, Colston Loveland is going to be our guy to kick off the Aaron Glenn, Darren Muji era. I want to pause real quick because don't forget, we picked up some capital. We're going to be picking at 42. A couple slots later, we're going to be picking at 44. Maybe we package these up if there's somebody that makes sense on the board here. Now, defensive tackle is still going to be a need. Wide receiver, offensive tackle is still going to be a need. So I don't want to package up both second round picks. It's crazy that Walter Nolan is still on the board, in my opinion. But what do we want to do here? I don't think there's anybody I'm crazy about needing to trade up for. Emeka would be the guy. Matthew Golden went there. Okay, so Shedeur did end up going to the Colts. I was just curious about where he was going to land. Kelvin Banks to the Seahawks, so that's probably who they potentially wanted there. Unless Golden would have been the trade-up play, I guess. All right, yeah, let's keep the draft going. Let's see where we're at. Emeka to the Lions. That sucks. Nolan is the final pick. The Eagles can't keep getting away with this. I feel like no matter if it's a mock draft or if it's the real thing, the Eagles always get somebody that should not be available for them at their pick, which tends to be the late 20s, or the 30s, because they're winning the Super Bowl or they're being runner-ups. Okay, so Jalen Milroe won't be a conversation piece for us. Is there anybody else we still need to trade up for? I'm not concerned with Luther Burden in terms of weapons we might want to look at. Tyleek is still on the board. Kenneth Grant is still on the board. So if one of those two guys come off here soon, I think maybe we have that conversation. And then we still have kind of our pick of tackle options. Mason Taylor was always a guy I really, really liked too. I feel like I might end up regretting not looking to target him in the second round, but Colston Loveland's still really, really solid pick for us. I'm just thinking about how we could have best potentially played the board here. Okay, so Connerly comes off. That is fine. Burden, Judkins, Tyleek. The Bears picked up, I feel like they have way too many picks in the first couple rounds here. The Bears picked up a running back and Armand Mimbu. What do they still need? Will they take Kenneth Grant? I feel like they need help on the defense too. If I recall, the run defense for them was horrific. What else would make sense? Their weapons are solid for wide receivers. Can always still add to the room. Would Kenneth Grant go here? I think we take that risk. Xavier Watts. Okay. I'm not going to get pick crazy in here. I just want to kind of see what's being offered out here. 90 and 101. Yeah, I'm not interested. I think the Rams don't they only have like 4 picks? They're going to try hard to move up, I'm sure, but they might want to just try to squeeze what they can out of the 4 picks they have. And I think they are like mostly day 3 options. 42. So they want to swap seconds for a future second. And let's see. Yeah, no, I'm good. Okay. So I think the easy play in most people's minds here would be take Kenneth Grant, right? And we have a pick in between. You can probably still get your choice of wide receiver at that time. This wouldn't make sense for any cornerback. So you're probably talking about tackle DT in round 2, since we have 2 of them now. I don't care to go edge yet still either. And with them taking Xavier Watts, what other safeties are out there real quick? Mukuba, I'm not locked into. Kevin Winston, I think, would be the play. Jalen Reed's a good pick. RJ Mickens is who I usually try to make a play for in the later rounds. I really want somebody that's going to kind of be like an enforcer, or I think we need to kind of target a box safety type individual. I'm not as worried about the coverage aspect. We might have to reach on like a Kevin Winston or somebody. We'll see. So I think for this pick, which tackles are still out there? Ursery, if somehow the 49ers pick him up, we have to wait a little bit. So starting potential, like day 1 starting potential, right? I think Ozzie Trapillo is day 1 starter potential. Emory Jones is more of a guard convert. Marcus Imbo, he's having like center guard convert conversations. Cameron Williams is probably the next. And you can argue guard, but I think Williams and Grant are probably the next true tackle options after that. So let's go. Let me see who's all out here at DT. We'll get Collins later. So I think the conversation would be, if we wait to go defensive tackle and we don't want to scoop up Kenneth Grant here, Kenneth Grant offers the best upside as a rusher and as a run stopper, and could be looked at as like it's not the same physical archetype, but like a Dalvin Tomlinson maybe. And then you start to fall off a bit. And then there's going to be guys like Deion Walker that you probably look at. Otherwise, if we want to stay true to like one gap penetrator guys, you start looking at like Omar Norman Lott later and things. But then that falls back into the same conversation about why we didn't pick up Mason Graham at 7 overall. So I think we are going to go Kenneth Grant here. Take the guy that has a reasonably high floor, has the superstar upside. Another Michigan guy. Again, you know what you're getting out of these formerly John Harbaugh coached guys. Yeah, keep adding the pieces, right? Kenneth Grant's going to be the pick. Trey Harris goes. I'm not entertaining any trades right now. Okay, so we're out of territory for defensive tackle. Edge, I think, can wait until day 3. And we have our tight end. So now we need to land our tackle. We have our choice of Ariante Ursary, or we can risk trying to wait and see if we can scoop up with the 3rd rounder, Ozzie Trapillo. And I don't think I want to take that chance, even though I do like Trapillo and I like Charles Grant. What other play can we make? Wide receivers on the board. Jalen Noel is there. I do like both of the Iowa State kids. So here's my thing. I want the X receiver, right? I don't mind smaller guys either. But the reason why I like the size speed prospect guys is just because I think you have a better chance of them lasting longer with the rigors of the NFL, right? And they have a better potential to break out for the guys that do show a tendency to be able to win on the boundaries, right, near the sideline. Now, Jalen Noel could be a play for us. He doesn't fit what I'm looking for, but I think the guy is just a winner. And obviously he's had himself a pretty solid combine, has himself a pretty good set of hands. I'm not too invested in Jalen Royals. Jaden Higgins would be the guy. And then Alec Ayomaner is kind of the Alec is the guy that I really like because I think he stands out as one of the best, if not the best, run blockers out of this wide receiver group. But I don't know if we'll be able to wait for him. And I know Kyle Williams has been rising. I really would prefer to go between Jaden Higgins and Alec. And to be honest, I think Alec Ayomaner, while he's not outright better than Jaden Higgins right now, I think from a developmental standpoint, he will fit what the Jets wants to do a little bit better because of his physicality and based on the leaps and bounds he's taken, as well as the genius. We can't forget he's a Stanford kid, but as well, you can kind of see in how he looks to set things up for himself that from an IQ perspective, he kind of has it there. I want to kind of wait for Alec here. So what crazy nonsense can we get into then if we decide we don't want to go Jaden Higgins? We need a slot guy too. So Jalen Noel can very much still be in play for us. But I would prefer to get the boundary guy first, and then maybe we can squeeze something out of Xavier Gibson, or Tyler Johnson can kind of play that big slot role or something like that. Chats, James Baker, my guy, doing great work. Let's hit that like and share. Let's go Jets. Hey, appreciate it. Again, if anybody wants to jump in and talk through some of these things, it's in the comments. I will drop it once again. I don't know what the play here is going to be. I don't want to get too overly fancy with it, right? But defensively, Prince Uman Mielen would be intriguing. I think Oladejo is a guy that's maybe a little bit more of a project than I'd like to see. But we're talking edge 3. I don't think I want to take edge 3 this high. Obviously, Joe Douglas presents a great use case for why, if the talent is there, you just take the guy, because nobody thought we would need Will McDonald, and luckily he was able to step up. But I think you can still improve the roster in other areas first, and I'm definitely not going cornerback or linebacker still. Too high for Kevin Winston. So I think that does land us in our wide receiver conversation. What are we going to do here? I would say I don't want to have to double dip because I still want to try to target Kevin Winston. And that's if he's even available at that pick for us. So Kevin Winston and Mickens are kind of my go-to. Getting Grant for the DD position is really good. Got you. Yes, Harlan. So at the 7th slot for us, we traded back with the Cowboys. They gave us the 12th overall pick. They gave us the 44th overall pick, which is what we're looking at now. And they gave us, I believe it was a 3rd rounder, 149. So what's that, a 4th for us, 4th or a 5th? I think we might end up, we probably need, so the issue with us is that the offensive line future state isn't in good shape, right? You have Olu, you have Tippmann, you'll have whatever tackle we take locked up. I think you try to find a way to pay John Simpson. You figure out what you can do with AVT, but then you don't have great depth at guard yet either. And I'm not saying I'm taking a guard here. Not this high, but let's knock out our tackle. Let's knock out our tackle. And we're going to eyeball this, and we're going to be moving up to probably grab either Higgins or Ellick, whoever ends up dropping. There's quite a few guys in here that I still like, though. Let's go tackle. Let's make sure that we can reinforce the positions that we need to. If you like Winston, grab him now. Yeah, I'm not as concerned about the safety spot, though. Like, similar to the conversation I had about the tight ends, I think anybody in the secondary gets that boost. So I am comfortable just finding kind of that athletic guy that still has some safety instincts to give Steve Wilkes and seeing what he can work his magic with. Let's do Ariante Ursary, because I think he offers more of the athleticism than what you're going to get out of Ozzie Trapillo. I think if you can instill some of that physicality with him, you're going to love the arm length. You're going to love what he can do in terms of being able to reach the second level. He's going to be a great, not body double, but he's going to be a great option to pair with Colston Loveland when it comes to doing some of those combo blocks, being able to get out there on the edges to seal some things off. Ursary is going to be the guy for us. Hairston, Donovan. So I'm going to pay attention to whichever one of the first wide receivers come off, and we're going to see where we're at. So Higgins is off the board. And then that leaves, I want to get a boundary guy first. I don't mind waiting to try to find a slot guy later. You can always get your P on the next round. Yeah, for sure. But I like Ursary and what he can provide a little bit more. I think the plus athleticism is just going to help, right? For offensive line, you're talking about an issue where there's not a lot of guys that are technically refined. And I think Ursary has enough of that refinement to where if he needs to live on his athleticism or lean into that a little bit early, he'll be able to get away with it. With Ozzie Trapillo, there's definitely some athleticism there for him. But I think he's going to be more of a, I don't know why I'm trying to use all this technical jargon. He's going to be more prone to kind of getting beat out by some of the more athletic guys they're going to try to bring out to that side. Yeah, I think he can make the transition for sure. If I recall, he's actually played some right tackle as well. Yeah. Yes, definitely a learning lesson there for him. Um, but we also like in the same token, it was the same nonsense that we always did where like we were rotating them throughout the offseason and stuff. So if you can lock a guy in from day one of the offseason, he at least has a chance to try to, get a lot of those kinks worked out where he has to try to switch up the footwork and the hand placement and different things. But I trust Ursary being able to get that figured out. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Don't feel pressured. I just appreciate you guys coming through and kicking it with me. So Jaden Higgins is off the board. I am going to at least try to wait until the top of the third round before we need to try to make any moves. And hopefully Elick is still going to be there. Let's see if any other. Okay, so Beck is coming off. Noel is coming off. Now this is getting problematic. And they get Mason Taylor. Like that's pretty insane to me. The Eagles are having themselves a draft. So I don't know how many more picks I'm willing to necessarily risk. There's a few other guys in here I like. Elick is who I really prefer at this point. So can we get something done with the Chiefs? I want 66. We'll give up our third and the swap, obviously. I don't know what the pick differentials for these are, right? So we are trying to move up. What is that? 7 spots. Can we give them the pick that we got from the Cowboys and just call this a day? Was that a third and a fourth, right? What is 149? Hold on. 149 is a fifth, so that might be a little low. So that means these two are fifths. All right, let's just see if this works. I feel like that's a little low, and I don't want to lowball anybody, but if they won't take it, they won't take it. Chiefs are here. Swaps, we give you 149. Hey, they took it. Okay, bet. Top of the third, near the top of the third, we are trading with the Chiefs. We are going to take Elick Ayomaner. And I think this gives us exactly what we're looking for out of this next offense. One that's very oriented on being able to play the run. And we have a lot of guys out here that should have the capability of winning some one-on-one matchups. So Elick Ayomaner's physicality, his run blocking tenacity, and he's proven to be able to play inside, outside. And I love what he'll offer is being able to win on the outside. Now, the only question mark, really, not the only, but the biggest question mark about Elick is going to be the fact that he does not have a great set of hands. He's not one of these guys, right? He's not letting the ball hit where it should and locking it in. He's clamping down on it. So this is a guy that could end up being a bad pick if he doesn't figure out a way to get more of the fundamentals set up. But I am willing to say that Sean Jefferson can get that out of him. And for what he's going to offer in terms of other value, it's a plus for me. So far, I feel really good. So just to recap, we have Colston Loveland as our top pick in the first. Kenneth Grant to give Quinnen Williams finally a solid running mate. at least until next conversation, next extension talks come up once again for him. Ariante Ursary is a guy I really like. I think he's going to fit the mold of being able to go out there and dominate the second line of defense for Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, and then obviously the athleticism. And then Alec Ayomaner, I think, is going to help out and improve the run fits that we want to do. And he's going to give some of these DBs problems from the size perspective and how he knows how to play some of the leverage issues that he's going to place these DBs in. Also, he's kind of a back shoulder phenom. So for what Justin Fields is going to be able to use as a safety blanket is kind of like a bit of a smaller tight end, if you will. I think those two should sync up pretty well. All right, let's get back to it. So our next pick is back in 110. So we are waiting until the 4th round. So far, we put off 2 trades, one going back with the Cowboys, one moving up with the Chiefs. You know what? This is just to highlight this. It's a little crazy that Shamar Turner is kind of getting those looks at like round 1, but he's lasting all the way until the 3rd here in this draft. But sounds like something he can be coached out of. Yeah, I'm not. Some guys just never really figure it out. Other guys piece it together. I'm not so worried about him. Okay, top of the second. We have figured out our answers at tight end, DT, wide receiver, and who else did I say we picked up? Tackle. So now things are a little bit open for us, right? We still need to probably get us a depth offensive line piece. And probably more so guard. You probably feel comfortable enough with like Chukwuma or Max Mitchell, somebody like that as maybe the backup swing. Guard is where I would say is probably more necessary. You want to try to figure out the safety. And where did they go? I'm sure what's his name came off the board already. Yeah, Winston went to the Chiefs. Makuba, Vikings. And then Lathan is coming to the Jaguars. So I'm thinking we still want to double dip a wide receiver and probably get that slot guy potentially figured out. You don't need to dip at DT. Tight end is still going to be on the board, but Jackson Hall should be one of the final picks that we're able to get. And then you can start filling in some of the nicks and crannies at like linebacker, safety, stuff like that. So things should open up here for us. All right, top guys on the board. We have linebacker, we have safety, we have wide receiver. Xavier Restrepo did not test great whatsoever, but he is still an extremely productive guy that I think is just one of those players that is always going to play much better than anything that people care about when it comes to how fast he can run and different things like that. There's plenty of speed on tape to show him running away from some guys. And you just want to find the guys that are productive and can kind of replicate that success. And I think he is a guy that is going to be able to get that done, especially when you consider putting him in the slot, right? And you're giving him those two-way looks and, free releases and different things like that to help him out. Savion Williams would be the other potential option here for us. I think you have to question a little bit more what exactly his role would be because he's not going to be a traditional wide receiver for you. But that might be something that Tanner Engstrand actually likes. As kind of the who's the Saints guy that I'm thinking of? Who is the Saints? Rashid Shaheed, right? Not a like true complete burner or anything, but like they utilize him in a couple different ways, stretch plays, plays out of the backfield, obviously deep passes, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe Savion Williams can fit something similar to that. But safety, who's here for us? Billy Bowman could be an option. I'm not as familiar with Senker, but I've heard some people chirp in my ear a little bit about him kind of playing more of that enforcer role. And I guess the question marks around him really are just, does he have the athleticism to really hold up on the back end outside of just being near the line of scrimmage? So if you want a utility piece on the back end that can kind of sometimes sub in and cover the deep halves and stuff, he may not be your guy. And I don't know if Aaron Glenn is willing to lock guys into a certain position or if he does want some of that versatility. So I feel like the smart play here is to go ahead and finish trying to add to the receiving room. And if I had to guess right now, I would want to take whoever is going to help Glenn out on day one when it comes to kind of hitting the field running. We're going to go with Xavier Restrepo. Quinn Ewers is coming off, Jordan Phillips. It's the only sad thing. Like, I don't think it's prudent for us to double dip at DT unless you're using one of your final picks, but like, there's so many good guys. Okay, so we have wide receivers officially locked up. We still have a needed tight end. I already know who I'm taking. It's going to be one of our final picks, and it shouldn't be a surprise for anybody that saw the last mock draft that I put out. Is 100% going to be Jackson Halls again. A lot of people feel like he'll probably be off around this round, like 4th to 5th, and I'd probably say that's more realistic, right? I think the media is pretty low on him, but I want the elite blocking ability he's going to be able to offer. At this point, I think Mickens is probably looked at as the guy here. I'm comfortable still taking him in this place for the Jets. Still need some interior help. AVT, I don't know how comfortable people feel with the health issue, so it'd be nice to make sure you have a suitable backup just in case something does happen. But at the very least, again, you want to try to have those that swing guard locked up. And I don't know if they do anything with I forget the center we picked up from the Packers that has the familiarity with Justin Fields, but I think you try to keep him as pure center. Connor Colby is kind of the preferred option here because he's the guy that has actually played a bunch of positions. He has the athleticism. He has the agility. I actually like the leverage that he plays with, and he's been able to go out there and play a variety of roles. I think he would still be the target, so we probably don't need to do anything early there. I'm obviously not going running back. So we probably start looking at defense again, right? And if I'm guessing, this is where we can start having the edge conversations, but I don't know if I'm willing to wait for any other safeties here. I think we lock in on Mickens. Cornerback, I would still prefer to wait. Yeah, we're going to do it. This is, I hate to put it out there, but this is essentially going to be the legacy pick. Someone Aaron Glenn's comfortable with. He'll get inside knowledge from the father, Ray. Obviously, you're going to love the pedigree with him going to Clemens. He has the 5 or 6 years of experience. He plays better as a safety that's going to be able to roam around the line of scrimmage as opposed to putting him out there in the deep, but he does at least offer the ability to improve in coverage on the back end. RJ Mickens is going to be our guy here. So we have our safety. I think he can at least push Tony Adams in the future, or at least in year one, I should say. And then in the future, if we decide we need to move on from Tony Adams, he can kind of fill that role near the line of scrimmage, since I think Tony operates a bit better as a coverage DB anyways. So Restrepo, Mickens. Now I think we're pretty open. If you do want to if you do decide, right, we have 3 picks left, that we want to start double dipping, or we decide that now you can really start, just picking up whoever based on talent, I think it's a lot more reasonable. Nobody's going to kill you over any of these. Quarterback is still a conversation that I think we should be having. And I am going to end up doing it. I'm going to drop a breakdown for Kyle McCord and maybe Riley Leonard as well. Those are one of my 2 favorite picks when it comes to some of these later round guys right now. But I know we're still doing a bit of head hunting on here. So one of those 2 would be my preferred option. I don't know if one's going to be there at 186. Also don't know if I prefer to necessarily grab one of those guys right now. I think it's probably smarter to consider going. Maybe we start looking at linebacker or something like that. Let me see what you guys got out here though. Rep BX, nice. I'm assuming you're liking the Mickens pick. Yeah, definitely a legacy one. Get another tackle, get another guard. Yeah, so I'm trying to avoid some of these being redundant, because Holland Pierce, I'm a Rutgers guy, right? So Holland Pierce and Longer Beam, Longer Stream, the cornerback. I don't remember. We either brought him in for a top 30 or we went to his pro day and we had a conversation with him. But he's a guy that I think brings the traits that they're looking for. That could be an option. So those would probably be my 2 at like cornerback and tackle. For guard, Connor Colby is 100% going to be the pick for me. I just don't know if he's going to last until 186. In day 3, I feel like you just take the guys that you're most comfortable with, right? Once you get into that like 6th round range, I think 4 and 5, you still want to try to make it make sense. But after that, I think you just pick whoever it is that you like the most. So Connor Colby is probably going to be the guy, but I don't want to miss out on. So there's not a ton of other edge guys I'm familiar with on here, right? I think the ones that are going to make the most sense for us will probably be like a Jared Ivey or Tyler Batty, who I picked up before. So those will probably still be in play. If not, I don't necessarily hate the idea of missing out on the edge altogether. Coward and Mickens lined up on D would be so nostalgic. Yeah. The cornerback from Rutgers may be able to get as a UDFA as well. Yeah, I kind of feel like he might last, but I think since we don't have that 7th rounder, there's probably a good chance somebody in like those final 15 picks will look to scoop him up as well. I think I'm going to knock out the guard here. Let's go ahead and just protect our offensive line investment. We're going to go Connor Colby. Again, I think he fits a lot of what we're going to do, from being able to plug and play him at multiple spots. He isn't just a guy that's been moved around for the sake of being moved around. He has done well at left guard, right tackle. So I feel comfortable there, especially with him being like an emergency break the glass tackle option. And then maybe he can develop into that future replacement for like an AVT, more so than John Simpson. Pierce is still here, right? I think he ends up falling like way below on the board. Is he not? Did somebody take Pierce? Oh, they did. And it's the effing Patriots. I hate to see my favorite players go to teams I hate, which really is only the Patriots, but that upsets me. Tackle. I don't know if we like. I don't mind double dipping at tackle. I don't know if we need to take one. The only other name I've been familiar with recently, just because some of the rumors, or I guess the stock soaring for him, is Issa Poll. Other than that, I don't want to have to rely on the breakdowns here because I'm sure they're not overwhelmingly like great or anything, and I don't want to just get like a 6'8" guy for the sake of saying that we got a 6'8" guy or anything like that. So if we do go tackle at some point in the final 2 picks here, it's probably going to be Issa Poll. But we locked up the guard, safety, wide receiver, linebacker. I feel like we probably will wait to go the undrafted free agent approach. Oh, somebody took, who's the guy I was looking at? Kaiser, and of course it was the Bills. So the other name that I really, really like, I think Kobe King is definitely an option there. But the guy that I think was just crazy productive, Buffalo linebacker Dolak. But I think they want somebody that's a little bit bigger and stuff like that. Or at least you get the guy that can cover and then has a little bit of size, and you look to get him to address like run gaps and stuff a little bit better. So I will say cornerback. What makes sense for us? Isaac Waxter, I just chatted about, so I'm loosely familiar with him. Elijah Hoosie. I kind of want, similar to like wide receiver, I want a boundary guy. I don't know if we need a linebacker. Like I'm perfectly comfortable with Quincy, with Sherwood, and then whoever wins between like Barnes, Surratt. Because whoever we bring in, I'm assuming is going to be like mostly a special team guy. I think we're playing like 4-2-5 shells. I think I would rather add to like the cornerback room. And if we did, I think I'm going to go with my guy Longer Beam. Am I missing any chats? Yeah, another tackle. Olu's injured. Need a linebacker. Get Longer Beam. Yeah, so I think to round this out, 2 picks, right? Yeah, we got 2 picks. And I don't know if anything else on offense makes sense. I did talk about quarterback. Nobody's there. Cam Miller. So Curtis Rourke, I like the toughness. I like the accuracy. I don't know much more about his game, though, other than he played on like a torn labrum or something crazy. Cam Miller's probably, we at least chatted and looked at him. Yeah, I think I'm good on quarterback for now. So let's go cornerback, linebacker. The issue with linebacker is I don't know who would even make sense. Should I just roll with Jared Ivey? Maybe we add to the edge room. We get our edge 3, and then we go cornerback, and you could probably still get someone. I don't think Batty's going to be a UDFA. You can get someone like JJ Weaver. I'm at least loosely familiar with him. Yeah, I'm going to have to actually look into a lot more of these guys. Kamen Rucker is a guy I know that some people were excited about. How do I want to play this? What's a good way to wrap this out? I don't want to draft a kicker either, as much as I still want to add to that as well. So let's do cornerback. We're going to take Longer Beam. And then we need to figure out what we want to do. Why is Isaiah Bond still on the board? Oh, wait. Did Isaiah? I wasn't going to go wide receiver, but I think Isaiah Bond got into like some trouble, something with a police run-in or like. smoking or some kind of drama like that. Corner, linebacker, edge, or tackle. We'll just round this out with the name that I'm most familiar with. We'll go Issa Pohl. 500 snaps last year, didn't allow a sack, doesn't have a crazy pressure percentage from what I understand. At least brings the measurables that you're going to look for out of the position. Yeah, we're going to go Issa Pohl. This is purely a lack of day 3 knowledge when it comes to a lot of these later guys, but boom, that is our draft, ladies and gentlemen. So let's look at the recap here, kind of see what the game plan ended up being for us. We were able to squeeze out a couple more picks in this draft. I think we still made out reasonably well. I think it's crazy to think that we have a lot of the names that we would have seen without having the extra draft picks. They should. This is where I think they should at least let us be able to change the speed. Like, we're done. I don't think this is the one that grades us either. Cool. So Costa Loveland at tight. Oh my God. I did all that drawing and I forgot our backup tight end. I joke. Switch out Issa Pohl with Jackson Halls. That's 100% going to be the pick. I don't know why I didn't circle back to that, but Colston Loveland, we get Kenneth Grant on the interior to pair with Quinnen. We have Ariante Ursary as an athletic freak to pair up with Olufashanu as bookends of the future. Alec Aomaner is the wide receiver I like the most on day 2 that we ended up trading up for. And again, we had 2 trades in this draft, one going back with the Cowboys, one going up with the Chiefs. Xavier Restrepo becomes our new slot guy, potentially can win on the outside as well. Obviously, he showed the propensity for it at Miami. Mickens is our legacy pick guy, but he's not just a name for the sake of having a name. I don't think Aaron Glenn would go that route. Again, I do believe in his ability around the line of scrimmage. Connor Colby is going to be hopefully one of our guards of the future. At the very least, he should be a long-term swing guard for us that can potentially play some center, but swing guard and an emergency tackle personnel member for us to give us a little bit long-term security. Robert Longerbeam, he's going to give us another option from a traits perspective for the Jets to try to develop behind the scenes. Stevens is on a 2-year contract. If the goal for Aaron Glenn is to have that size speed guy on the outside, then Longerbeam ends up becoming that guy that you look at maybe being that replacement in year 3 for Stevens. When you can, I think it's like a savings of $8 million or something like that for him. And then I guess Stiggers ends up being the MC2 replacement. And maybe that ends up being kind of the plan in place here, right? Or maybe it ends up being JBC. I don't want to forget about Converse either. And then this is no longer Issa Pohl. I hope Issa Pohl maybe just ends up becoming a UDFA pickup for us. That pick is actually going to be tight end Jackson Halls from Georgia Tech. And that will round out us double dipping at tight end, us double dipping at wide receiver, and then plugging some of these other holes where I kind of like how we approach this. You have your potential star piece at DT. You have your play of the future at cornerback and safety. And then you're mostly making sure that you support Justin Fields, which is the route that I think we need to go. The defense is really set up to still be successful. You just need to make sure that you're adding in the correct supplementary pieces. So that is the play for us. With that said, let me know what you guys think about the draft class. I'll probably save this as a post at some point so people can grade the draft class or something like that. Or maybe I'll recap it on like a short or something like that. But this isn't a bad draft for me considering the trades that we pulled off and kind of the value we were able to pull out from a lot of that. I think Loveland is an impact player. Grant's an impact player. Ursery is a starter. I'm not willing to say he's just going to have like a super clean rookie season by any means. A.O. Maynard, I think, will be an impact player just by virtue of him being wide receiver 2 for us. Restrepo, I think, can be a starting caliber. Let's just say A.O. Maynard and Restrepo are both starting level talents. Micken should be a quality backup. And then with the rest of the picks, I think you're just looking to strike on the value there. So, yes. So I appreciate you guys coming through, chatting with me, talking through some of the options here. This was pretty fun. I didn't think I was going to be able to squeeze out the full 7-rounder in just the hour. I'm actually surprised I talked this long or this often, but I appreciate it. I have a few more things dropping this weekend in terms of breakdowns and early next week. And then I'll probably do a final mock draft. I don't know if that one will be with trades. I'm not even sure if I'm going to do it live yet or anything like that, but we'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think, though. Again, appreciate everybody that's come through and hung out with me over this hour. Hope you guys have a good weekend. Catch you guys again. Peace.